Hey, fuckers.
That's all I got to say about that.
That's it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rick and Steve's podcast. And we said podcast because we're still contemplating the POTcast, but we like it. And I just want to welcome everybody for the first show. We hope we don't suck. Rick, let's not suck.
Gonna try.
Okay, no sucking allowed. And we're just going to be talking about anything off the top of our heads, but we do have some subjects that a lot of people have been asking us about that we're going to try to get into the conversation. And again, that's what this is. It's a conversation. It's not a show. We didn't write anything. There's no script. Everything that's going on is coming off the top of my head. We're going to be talking about sports. As you can see, I'm a big sports fan. Go Ravens, go Washington this weekend. We're going to be talking about music, obviously. We're going to be talking about funny money and KIX. We're going to be talking about lawn care and Music Institute. And what else do you do? Vinyl shop.
Vinyl shop. Dealing with Ronnie Youngkins, trying to get him going.
That's a job in its own.
That's a hell of a job.
We're hoping that people will, if they're listening and they want to have send in some questions, so we can answer them as best we can. And even if you have like a story of where maybe you met me on the road and I was a dick, then you can call me a dick. That's fine. If I was a dick, that meant you were the biggest dick, because I was never a dick unless I was approached by a dick.
Burn.
Smoke that shit.
That's right. That's right.
A lot of people ask me, where were you born? I was born in a little tiny town up in West Virginia called Piedmont, West Virginia. And I was born and raised there and went to school there. It was an idyllic little town. It was right out of Norman Rockwell. It was a great town. And my very first impression of music was watching marching bands, like during the Christmas parades and the Halloween parades. And I loved the drum corps. So I would go home and I would get all my mom's pots and pans out and spoons, and I would play these drums till I finally got a drum kit when I was 8 years old. And I never stopped playing. So that's pretty much what got me started in it. And luckily, I was playing drums. I used to play drums to records, and my neighbor across the way was a guitar player, a couple years older than me, and he heard me playing, and he invited me to come over and jam with him. So we started a band. That was my very first band. I have no idea what it was called. I don't even know if it was called anything. It's called The Band.
It was just you two?
We eventually got a bass player in, and then we tried a couple of singers, and then they finally looked at me and said, "You should sing." So I did. I just did all the vocals from behind the drums.
They were right.
Yeah. I had a great mother. My mother was amazing. My father, not so amazing. He was an alcoholic, and he was abusive, and not too many good memories about old Junior, but he did his best, I guess. And let me see, how did I start on the drums? I just told you that. Okay, I'm getting stuck already. I think the first real band that I was in was called Avitas for some reason. I think that was on a Zildjian cymbal, Avitas Zildjian. So we called the band, a stupid name, and we would just play like sock hops in high schools. And there was a place called Teen Town that all the local bands played. So that was my roots, and that's what got me started.
Back to your dad.
Yep.
I remember a story you told me that he had a pet duck that followed him to the bars.
A pet duck?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. Yes, he did.
I didn't think I dreamed that.
No, you're right. We had this little wiener dog that loved him, and it would follow him. If he would go out and the dog would get out of the house, it would go to every bar in town until it found him. And it was a smart dog.
Damn.
And the dog was an alcoholic too.
Did your parents stay together?
No. Well, yeah, I guess they did. They shouldn't have. We used to beg my mother to please let this asshole go. But she wouldn't. She was a good Catholic woman, so Catholics don't get divorced, and she wouldn't do it. So she just put us through hell for all of our life. Unfortunately, they're both gone now. So, but for the most part, I had a great upbringing. The fact that I got a set of drums when I was 8 years old was pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
And then I guess when I started playing with this other guy, he started getting me interested in playing guitar. So he built a guitar out of scraps that he had, and I learned to play on this piece of shit guitar, and he had me playing in about a week. I mean, pretty much fluently. But I would practice 10 hours a day. That's what you do.
So you would remember you saying in an interview, or maybe you just told me, but you would listen to Casey Kasem on Sunday and learn the top 10 or maybe even the top 40 that week?
I would record the whole show every week. It'd take about 3 hours, and I would record it with a microphone on a transistor radio, and I would go through. Now, after you recorded so many, he would only tell you the new people that were in it, so I would only get them from there out.
Right.
But I would learn to play drums on every one of those songs, because that's what I did. And it was all kinds. It was pop, it was soul, it was rock, it was blues, it was everything. And I think that's made you a very diverse musician.
And then the Beatles came along with Ed Sullivan and changed everything.
It changed my life. I think I was 7 when they were on, and it was the girls screaming, not so much the music that I loved, because you really couldn't hear the music.
Yeah.
And it was just the girls. I'm like, wow, I'd like to have that. Never got it, but I would have liked to have it. But the Beatles, that changed the world, you know?
I wasn't a Beatles fan. I never liked them. They weren't my cup of tea.
Get the hell out of here.
But then we went to see Paul McCartney a few years ago. And the most incredible show we've ever been to. I was an instant fan and mad at myself that I didn't enjoy the music for all those years. But Paul McCartney's show, if he ever comes around again, I don't know if he officially retired or not.
I don't think so. He just did a European tour.
But man, I think he's 82 years old
Something
now.
like that. And I saw him at the old RFK Stadium, back when Linda and him were still married. She was alive, and it was so good. The hair on my arms would just stand up, and there were some songs that would just take me back to a memory, and I would cry. And it's like it was such an emotional show. It was if you ever get a chance, or if you ever seen him, you know what we're talking about. The best.
Yeah.
But the Beatles changed everybody's life, and like I say, they changed the world. They changed the way people dressed. They changed the way people wore their hair. They changed everything. They changed the whole music world. There will never be another band like that.
No.
Let me see. These are things that people want me to discuss. And first band, we did all that stuff. When I was when I was playing in a band called Nova, and that's where I met Joe Procopio, who was our sound man in the Shoes and KIX. And I was in a band with I don't remember their names, Turk, Chris Ogden, that doesn't matter what their names are, but that's where the guys in the Shoes found me. I was playing in this little club in LaVale, Maryland. And Joe Procopio, who was going with Pam Spence, who was the sister of the drummer in the Shoes. You follow all that?
Yep.
Okay. So these guys heard about me, and Joe wanted to get out of town and go back to Hagerstown. So he turned them on to me. So the guys in the Shoes came up to this little club in LaVale, and they heard me play, and I went out and fronted a couple of songs, and Donnie Purnell took me out to his little Volkswagen Bug and played me Atomic Bombs.
That was the Democrat Club, right?
Yeah, the Democrat Club.
That's still around.
And he said, we're going to get a record deal. And I believed him. So I packed up the truck and I moved to Hagerstown.
How old were you then, 23?
22.
22.
Yep. And our first album came out the day before my 25th birthday. And I said, if we don't make it by the time I'm 25, I'm quitting. So I just made it, just snuck it in there.
So you had a band house? There was a band house that everybody
When I moved to
together?
Hagerstown, yeah, it was Joe and me and I don't know who all was in there. About 5 of us in a band house. And that's where I lost my virginity. See, I was a good Catholic kid coming up, and I hated being a good Catholic kid, but I was a good Catholic kid.
22 years old?
Yeah. Now, I made it around the bases. I just never got home.
All right. That's surprising. Wow, okay.
Well, I always had girlfriends back home, but I was always afraid that if I got them pregnant, I would be stuck there. I would have to quit music, get a real job, and I said, fuck that. I ain't doing that. I ain't fucking you either.
No child support here.
Ain't getting me. Ain't tying my ass down. But then when I got down to Hagerstown, I drank more. Got a little higher. And I lost my virginity in Hagerstown. In the band house.
In the band house.
In the band house. And I've been fucking ever since.
That's pretty cool. I was it was 1988. I was 14 years old, and this girl in the neighborhood really wanted to get with me. She had already had sex, and I was so nervous.
How old was she?
She was 14.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
you guys were sluts.
She had already had sex.
Jesus,
so
14. I didn't know what a hard on. Yeah.
Well, me and two friends went up to her house one day, and I said, "Hey, if you come down and you do all three of us, I'll go ahead and I'll do it." And she said, "No way." And I said, "That's okay. There's a girl down the street that will." And she said, "Hold on, I'm coming." So she came with us to my house. My mom was at work, and I was so nervous. I was ready to throw up. So I made my one buddy go first while me and the other guy stood outside my bedroom door listening and trying to peek through and see what's going on. So my one buddy got done, and I knew I was up. And it was so horrible walking through that door. But I wanted to get it over with real quick because of how nervous I was. So I ran in, did it real quick, and ran back out and hurried up and shoved the third guy in the bedroom.
Sounds romantic.
So that summer, I guess word got out, and the entire neighborhood called us 3 Men and a Baby. That movie was big at the time. So I'm 14, may have turned 15 by this time, so nervous that she was pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what to do, and I just bided my time and eventually figured out, well, no, she's not pregnant.
That's a scary thing.
It was, but I was too young. That's way too young. 14.
That's way too young.
Shoo.
22 is way too long.
It is, somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah, 18 is a good fucking age. A lot of people ask me to repeat the story about the first show I did with the then Shoes.
Right.
And I was scared to death. I was so scared that night and nervous that I thought I was having appendicitis. I just had pains and the heart was going crazy, and I didn't sleep at all. And went to this show. It was in Warrenton, Virginia. And like I said, I was nervous and scared, and I didn't know if I was going to be any good or not, because I really looked up to these guys in my first show. And the show went pretty good. But after the show, a guy comes in with a baseball bat and goes up to our soundboard and starts beating on the soundboard. And our sound man just jumps back and goes, "Man's got a bat, what am I going to do?" And then security came and drug him outside, and then we found out when we were tearing down that somebody shot him in the head. Yeah, that was my first
God.
gig. First gig. Yep.
Wow.
So I thought, what a gig. It's going to be hard to top that one.
Jesus, that's when Donnie Spence obviously was still in the band.
Yeah, I remember a girl, because Donnie was real flirty with the audience. And he was a good front man. So I started playing the drums, and Donnie was out front. He would do a set out front, then I would come out front, and he would go on drums. Same show, Donnie was bent way down, and this girl was like rubbing on him, and he was allowing it. And she grabbed him by the hair and pulled him off the stage, and he landed on his knees. And it was like a floor like this, just concrete. Stage was about 5 feet, 6 feet. What a show.
Jesus Christ.
And we went back there and played again. There was no green room. There was just this little side alley with a couch in it. And that's where we pissed. Everybody pissed on the couch.
Oh, my God.
People come in and sit on it. We'd have to get out of there. We'd be laughing so hard.
So what was this, 1979?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Or 78. I've joined him in 78, fall 78. Jimmy came in 79.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, Donnie lasted almost a year with us, and I was good friends with him, but he had a drinking problem, and it started to interfere with our shows. He would be late getting back from the 15-minute break sets, and it was getting worse and worse. We knew we had to make the move.
You're the one that got me into actually music in general, playing. I mean, I came to you for
Yep.
vocal lessons, and then we switched to guitar.
Yep.
And I picked up on it pretty quick and started my first band, probably 6 months after I picked up the guitar.
Right.
And put together a rock band. Then we ended up opening up for you guys
Right.
at a few shows. It was incredible, but I could not play unless I had a certain amount of beers in me. To walk out on that stage sober, that never happened.
Wow.
I mean,
See, I was the opposite.
Yeah.
I couldn't have anything until I was done because I had to have a clear head. I had to think about a lot of shit.
My very first show, I played with my back to the audience and my face was about this far from the wall. And I stayed that way the whole night. I'm not looking at them people. It was horrible. Now, of course, I loosened up after a show or two, but it was horrible. That whole public speaking thing.
Yeah.
I was never.
Oh, I was a turd on a mic for about
Yeah.
a year. I mean, I sucked. And having Donnie and me trade off was actually good training. And then I watched Donnie because he was much better than I was at fronting a band and getting audience participation. But when I remember the night that I decided, okay, this is how I'm going to do it because I'm not cool. I don't want to act cool. I want to use my personality as my performance. So we played this club in Leonardtown,
Okay.
Maryland.
Yeah.
We would play Tuesday through Saturday, 5 sets a night. Tuesdays and Wednesdays was nobody there. Why the hell they made us play, but they did. One night we were playing, and there was one guy in there, and we called him Cow Shit Kenny because he had breath that was horrible, smelled like cow shit, and he'd come up and play Cheap Trick. Get the fuck out of here. And we would go to the owner of the place, and there's one guy here. Can we stop? No, he was just a dick.
Right.
But we would play the 6 nights, but the Friday and Saturday nights when the place was packed, so when my voice would be gone, everybody be tired. But that was great training to do that. Let me give a little bit of background between Rick and I. Rick came to me, I guess it was for vocal lessons at first.
Yes.
That's when I first met you.
Yep.
I was teaching out of my home. When KIX called it quits, I started teaching at home, and I started teaching in Harrisburg and Baltimore and Cumberland. So I was doing all that, and Rick started with me doing vocal lessons. And let me tell you, you sucked. He was really, really bad. I mean, really, really, really bad.
Still am.
But he kept coming, and I thought, if you work at something long enough and hard enough, you will get better. You never did.
No.
So then he decided to take guitar lessons. So I started working on guitar with him, and he picked that right up. But we've been friends for a long, long time. We've been doing a lot of stuff together. I worked at the Institute. I taught over there for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was just nice that I didn't have to travel to Harrisburg and Baltimore anymore when you opened that place up. That was great. And he's just been a good friend. The auctions is what spawned all this. We didn't plan this. It was just a whim of an idea. And I need to be high when I do these.
Well, I approached Steve last year, and we would always talk about podcasts, Joe Rogan and Bill Burr.
Yeah.
And
there's tons of them I listen to.
It was around the time KIX was the last show, September of 2023, and you were getting hit up for interviews every day, multiple a day for 2 months straight. And I said, we should do a podcast. And you said, fuck that. I said, no, not as Steve, the lead singer of KIX, just Steve, the guy with your ideas, and you kind of thought about it then. And then a few weeks ago, while we were doing the auction, that's when we thought, well, we should just do this and make this the podcast. Mm-hmm. So the idea's been around for a little while, but I guess we got serious about it. And then I got real serious about it.
Yeah, when he gets serious about something, you might as well forget it because he won't stop. He's like a tick. He just digs in and he won't stop.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
So I'm hoping we can pull this off, and I'm hoping that enough people have interest to watch it, and hopefully we'll get better and better at it because right now, we don't know what the hell we're doing. So we're learning.
Yeah, we're taking questions. If you go to we have a Facebook page, we have the YouTube page, which is where you're mainly going to see this podcast. We have Instagram. We have, what's the one I was just telling you about? SoundCloud. And then, I don't know, there's 6 or 7 different ways you're going to be able to contact us, but our Facebook page is going to be the main one, which is Steve and Rick's Podcast. So if you get on there, we have the email listed. If you want to ask Steve any questions, if you want to ask me any questions, you can send your questions to that email, and then we're going to open them up and read them on here and answer what we can.
Yep. Not honestly, but we'll answer it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and check out the questions that you guys sent in to us at the POTcast2025@gmail.com. That's where you want to email any questions. So we have a couple here. We'll hit 1 or 2. Okay, here's one from Matt Hall. It says, "Hi, Steve and Rick. Thank you for reading this. Baby Time Bomb and Book to Hypnotize were on the 1995 album Show Business, but I read somewhere that they were written and even performed live long before 1995. Is that right? When were they written, and how come KIX waited so long to record them for an album?"
Book to Hypnotize. Sorry, I'm fucking with the mic. Book to Hypnotize was the only one that we wrote that one for probably Midnight Dynamite, and it didn't make it until Show Business. Producers just didn't know what to do with that song. And we had Bo Hill, we had great producers, but they just they couldn't figure it out. But we always liked it. So when we were in charge for Show Business, we said that's going on there. Baby Time Bomb, that was written for Show Business. So I don't. You're right about one, but you're wrong about the other.
Oh, that wasn't around. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I got you. Well, there you go, Matt. All right, let's look at another one
Thanks,
here.
Matt.
Let's look here. Okay, here is one from Chrissy Knoll, Nowell, Chrissy Knoll. She put multiple questions in here, so we'll go through them one at a time. She's got 5 points or questions here. First one is, over the years, Steve has discussed his need to take a dump. Has there been any venues that he just would not touch the porcelain convenience?
No such thing. I shit in a coal bucket once. Me and Ronnie Youngkins, we had to go bad, and it was like, I don't know, a roller rink or something. There was no dressing room. There was nowhere to go, and so they took us around back, and it was just like a barn, and we found these coal buckets, and we both took a big old shit into the coal bucket. So whoever picked up those coal buckets had a big surprise for him.
All right. Second one. This one might be a little tough for you. Describe a Spinal Tap-like moment while on tour.
Man, there's so many of them, but they all seem trivial and they seem a blur now because every day something ridiculous would happen. Nothing jumps out to me.
Okay.
I'll think about that one and address that one later.
All right. What is the most ridiculous gift the band has ever received from a fan?
Again, we used to get all kinds of dumb shit. The most what? The most ridiculous.
Ridiculous gift ever. We can come back to that.
Well, when we were on tour with Rat, it was somebody's birthday, so they brought in strippers. And I thought that was a pretty good present.
That's not a ridiculous gift.
No,
that's great.
That's pretty damn good.
Was somebody in KIX's birthday?
I think
Okay.
so. I don't remember the whole story, but we saw titties. And Kelly was with me.
So that reminds me, I remember we were doing a show and I had you on WQCM to promote the show. And a guy showed up, correct me if I'm wrong, with two strippers and a bottle of Jack Daniels. And it was your birthday. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Well, what I found out was, I didn't know at the time, because we never discussed it, that it wasn't only your birthday, it was your
anniversary.
Oh,
and I do remember.
Yeah.
Quinn at
Yes.
QCM in
Yes.
Chambersburg.
Yes.
I showed up to do the interview, and there's these two strippers in there. And they're giving me lap dances and shit. And I'm like, oh, I thought I'm doing an interview. I'm not here for this. I didn't come for an erection. I came for an interview.
I didn't come for an erection. That's a fucking tagline right there. We need that. All right. Okay, the last one is not a question. It just says, Rick always looks stoned. Make him take a piss test.
piss?
I have not smoked marijuana since May 31st, 2009, and I'll tell you why. I'm a teetotaler. I got to go all in, so we had a birthday party for my wife that night at the house, and it was long before marijuana was legal, but I had a line on some really good pot. It was called White Widow. So I bought as much as I could that was available, and when I brought it out at the party, I was, hey, let's smoke, let's keep smoking, let's keep smoking. I got so high that I was forgetting to breathe, and it scared me really, really, really bad. And I remember saying, if you take this feeling away, I'll never touch marijuana again. And it's now been 16 years. I haven't touched it.
I got high about an hour and a half ago, and it felt great. You gotta know what your limits are. I know 4 hits off a bowl sends me away nicely. I don't get that paranoid. I don't. So you just gotta know your limitations.
Well, I haven't smoked it since it became legal, and now you can pretty much say, what you want it for, and they can give you a specific weed. Back then, it was either good weed or homegrown. So I'm sure the day's going to come where I do get high again, and you'll be the first to know.
All right.
So let's do that. Let's look at one more question. This comes from Dave August. Rick and Steve, everyone asks about hammerjacks. It's now boring and cliche in an interview, and we've talked about that many times. What is the next best bar or music venue Steve has played that is east of the Mississippi?
I would say Ram's Head. That was it was a great venue. We would sell it out almost every time, 1,800 people in there, and it was loud. And it was like playing an arena when we played there. So it was great. So that's definitely Ram's Head.
That was definitely my favorite venue to see you guys at as well. It just had a feeling about that place when you walked in.
Yep, it had a vibe, like Hammerjacks. It had a vibe.
I was never at Hammerjacks. I was a little too young.
Yeah.
I didn't make the cut, but the stories I hear, like you said, the Ram's Head is pretty much equal to what Hammerjacks was.
Hammerjacks was in a world of its own.
No. Physical-wise, as far as the way it was set up with the different tiers. And...
Yeah. But Hammerjacks. It was a party. It was just, once those doors opened, it was just a party, and it never stopped. And beautiful girls would be dancing on the bars, and there was a whole lot of fucking going on at Hammerjacks.
Making up for that 18 to 22.
Yeah. Making up those 5 years that I missed out on.
That's awesome. So we're going to try to do these every other week. If we end up getting to doing it every week.
If it works, that. Like I say, this is a trial for us. We're not 100% sure it's going to work, but we hope it does. And we'll prepare a little bit more. We'll have things that we can discuss before the show, and then share it with everybody. And again, inviting people to send us questions, send us paragraphs about things that you may have witnessed on the road with us, or places where you've seen us play, because we played all over the U.S. and Europe and Sweden and Japan. So, I'd like to hear from all the fans from all over the world.
Just hang in there with us. We're going to get there. We're eventually going to have some guests come in and sit with us. Mm-hmm. We've already been approached by a few that wanted to come in, but we're just not ready. I mean, this is our first one, and
want to get one under our belt.
We need to have our T's crossed and our I's dotted, and figure out which way we want to take this. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a million questions for Steve over his 40-year career, 40 plus year career. So we're just touching the tip of the iceberg here.
Yeah. On that note. That's how you close a show.
That's it. Thanks, everyone.